Alright guys, how many of you know Aesop, the skincare brand from Australia that's owned by a Brazilian company called Natura & Co, who also owns The Body Shop and Avon? Do you know this house? Do you know their fragrances? Well, today I'm going to review 4 of their fragrances called Marrakech Intense, Tacit or Tacit, Hwyl and Rozu, their latest fragrance, which just launched a few months ago. So if you're curious to learn about this house and their fragrances, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, today I'm talking about Aesop, an Australian luxury skincare brand. And I first discovered this brand way back in probably 2014 when I started going to Barney's to buy perfumes. Well, I went to Barney's prior to that, obviously, but I wasn't really digging into skincare until much later. But I really enjoy the whole, you know, the idea of the brand, their quality, and all their scents in their products. And the fragrances I recently got into, more recently than late. And I've got all 4 of them now. As I said, it's Marrakech Intense, Tacit, Hwyl, and Rozu. Hwyl would have ended up perfectly on my Incense video recently, but I didn't have it at the time. I just recently picked it up. So we're going to find out about these 4 fragrances. But before I get to the fragrances, if this is your first time tuning into my channel and you still haven't subscribed, please do click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So a lot of you have been asking me to cover this brand, and I finally have all 4 of their fragrances. And now it's time for me to cover them. And of course, you guys have asked me about specific fragrances from the house. And not a lot of people talk about the fragrances from this house. And I figured, you know what, it's time that we discuss them. There's some great fragrances here. And they are, you know, they're still mass fragrances, but they are a little on the edgy side. They're not like, you know, your typical department store fragrances where everybody, or every fragrance smells similar. There's some unique things here. They're more indie. To me, they act a little more indie-esque, indie-esque niche, like indie houses. So their fragrances seem like that in comparison to their other brands, The Body Shop, which are very mass, I believe, from what I've sampled in the past. So this is different, definitely. And I'm not too experienced with Avon, so it's been a long time since I've smelled anything Avon. But this brand, I think it totally stands out next to The Body Shop. And The Body Shop is a skincare brand as well. So let's go ahead and talk about Marrakech Intense first. I want to show you how the fragrances come. Now, these are a little, I ordered a mail order, and they're a little scuffed up. They come in little boxes like this, and each fragrance has a different price. All 4 fragrances, 3 of them are Eau de Parfum concentration. The very first one I'm going to talk to you about is Marrakech Intense. It's Eau de Toilette concentration. And as I said, all 4 have different prices. This Marrakech Intense is the least expensive. It's 50 ml and it's $95. Eau de Toilette, as I said. And this fragrance to me is more woodsy, spicy with slightly floral nuances. And it's inspired by something you would smell in the spice markets of Marrakech. That's why it's called Marrakech Intense. But I was also doing some research, and I noticed that on their website, Aesop's website, it said that they're inspired by culinary adventures of the spice markets. So, you know, this is actually really spicy, but also it's... I was thinking I would name drop like something like Tower Perfume's L'air du Desert Marocain. They're not at all similar except for the fact that this is spicy just like that. What I like about this one that the cardamom stands out a lot, but everything in here connected together has a very fizzy, almost like Coca-Cola kind of a vibe, which actually is fun. Soda fragrances are fun, and there is something in the background that acts like it's bubbling, like a can of Coke that you've poured into a cup and it's fizzing everywhere. I like that part of this fragrance. Is it really reminding me of the spice markets in Marrakech? Well, I've never been to Marrakech. I've always wanted to go. But I can smell the spices in here, and I think what's causing that fizzy quality is the cloves with the bergamot at the top notes, which is really, really wonderful. I really love it. So if you like spicy fragrances, I recommend this. That's how the bottle is right here, and the packaging for Aesop's Marrakech Intense. Again, they're smaller bottles. They're easy to transport. They're a little heavy. The glass, I feel like, is definitely really strong glass, so if it falls it might not break, but don't take my word on that one. But Marrakech Intense is fun. It's a fun fragrance, and I like that whole Coca-Cola fizziness. Inside you can see some very interesting writing, but recently I picked up Hwyl. This is it right here, from a local San Francisco shop, Aesop shop. And they're not cellophane wrapped, so I think that's how the fragrances are handed. And I ordered the other three that I'm talking about, including Marrakech Intense. So Marrakech Intense, Tacit, and Rozu were mail ordered. They came like this. That's why they're a little scuffed, because the shipping kind of ruined them because they're not cellophane wrapped. So this one's the $95 one, the least expensive one, and also the Eau de Toilette one. The rest of them are Eau de Parfum. So if you like spicy fragrances that are a little on the playful side because of this whole fizzy vibe that I get from Marrakech Intense, you should check out this one. I like it. It's a great fragrance, actually. They're not overly strong. The fragrances are more subtle. They're not like loud beasts or anything like that. So I think the best way to experience these fragrances is to get some samples if you can, or go to an Aesop store and sample there. As I said, here we had Barney's. It's no longer here. But in San Francisco, I think there's 2 or 3 Aesop skincare stores that I can go to and, you know, sample their skincare products or body products, and then of course smell their fragrances. And there's a total of 4. So the second fragrance I'm going to talk to you about today is Tacit, which is here. So this is slightly higher price. It's $125 for a 50 ml, but it's also an Eau de Parfum concentration fragrance. And again, it's not cellophane wrapped, and this is what the inside looks like. And the bottle is a similar brownish color, but seems a little on the greener side in comparison to Marrakech Intense. I should not have put, although they're the same color, as you can see. So Tacit. So I noticed that on their website it says this is a modern take on a classic cologne. So it uses a lot of citruses. It's green, it's bitter, it's citrusy, it's fresh, woody, and spicy. So those are all keywords, or accords, I guess I should say, that come to mind with this one. But at the top there's loads of citruses and yuzu fruit. And yuzu is like grapefruit, so there is this bitterness about it, there's a zinginess about it. But it's also causing a little bit of subduedness. I find that a lot of the fragrances in this collection, they're not screamers. So if you don't like screamers, then these probably are ones that you would like. If you do like screamers, these might not be ones that you should try. Anytime I experience fragrances that are a little subdued, a little more quiet, there's some classiness around them. There's some I don't want to use the word sophisticated, but whenever a fragrance screams like loud, beast, things like that, I would never call those fragrances classy, because they're just overwhelmingly strong. And you know, class goes with the subtleties for me. I just think that anytime that fragrances have the subtleness about it, then I can, you know, call it a classy fragrance. And this one definitely has it. One thing I forgot to mention, all their fragrances are unisex, gender neutral, it says on their website. And once again, this one also has cloves. And I've noticed that their fragrances, all 3, except for Marrakech Intense, has vetiver. So the vetiver deodorant, obviously, from this house is something that I really enjoy. It is pricey. It's really dark, earthy, and smoky, and I feel like they complement the 3 fragrances. And I think they should also complement Marrakech Intense as well, because I think it would work. It would just add a smoky layer to that fragrance, which I think might be missing, because it seems very bright for Marrakech Intense. For spices and things like that. Definitely, I think it needs a little smokiness. But going back to Tacit, if you like the bitterness of colognes, if you like them spicy, woody, of like traditional eau de colognes, or fragrances that are inspired by, you know, citrusy eau de colognes, this might be one for you to try. The cloves, there's cloves again in here, and there's cloves in the other fragrance as well, so it seems like some notes they do like to use over and over again. Now, I wasn't able to find the details of who the perfumers are on these fragrances, so I don't really know, but I'm actually digging a lot of these fragrances. If I want some less, I guess if I want some more subtle fragrances, I would go with fragrances from this. But yeah, I can see the whole citrus eau de cologne or cologne inspired qualities of this fragrance, but it does have a little more of a dense oomph, woodsiness, and spiciness about it. So that's Tacit, with an interesting name. Their names are pretty interesting here. Tacit and Hwyl, which is the next fragrance we're going to talk about, are pretty interesting. Rozu kind of gives me a hint of what I'm going to smell. Rozu. And Marrakech Intense, I think, is a fairly straightforward name. So that's Tacit once again. This is a 50 ml, 125, not the most expensive. The last fragrance is the most expensive, and we're going up in price every time we do a fragrance in this collection. So the cheapest is the Marrakech Intense. So this is the newest fragrance. I just recently picked it up from one of our Aesop locations here in San Francisco, and this is called Hwyl. Hwyl. I don't know this name. I didn't do research on the name. Pretty interesting name. Almost reminds me of Highway or Hawaii or whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't know how it also matches the fragrance, because it's a smoky, woody, Japanese forest incense inspired fragrance, and that's why I said this would have been perfect in my incense fragrances video. But it also reminds me of Comme des Garçons inspired incensey kind of woodsy fragrances. So Hwyl is a 2017 launch. I didn't say the dates on the other fragrances, did I? Marrakech Intense was 2014. Tacit was 2015. And Hwyl is 2017. Eau de Parfum 50 ml, 135. So this one actually has lots of greenish touches inside the box here. I like it. It's almost like green lilies or something. I don't know what that image has anything to do with the fragrance, but once again, the same color, similar color bottle, as you can see, if I can get all three up here. But yeah, they're the same color. Although this one seems a little yellower. So Hwyl is a smoky, woody, rich, green, dark forest incense, and totally reminds me of incense fragrances or woodsy, incensey fragrances or smoky fragrances from the Comme des Garçons. So I can see that this might be inspired by those fragrances, but then again, I don't know. It's definitely green, and it's a kind of incense, Japanese incense to me, like Kyoto from Comme des Garçons CDG incense series. There is something more balanced about it. It's not like ultra smoky and also burned. It smells a little more green and woodsy, and this actually captures that very well. With this one at the top, you've got lots of spices like thyme and other spices. Well, thyme is an herb, obviously, but other spices. So there is a spicy start, aromatic herbal start, and then the cypress comes in. Now, I don't know if it's a cypress, like traditional Western cypress, or if it's like hinoki, which is a Japanese cypress, I believe. And then there's also more woods. And then in the base notes is the Olibanum that gives it the smoky, incensey touch with Vetiver and Oakmoss. There's a Vetiver again. And I like this one a lot. It's definitely easy to wear incense because it's not all about the incense. There's the spices, the aromatic touches, and then also the wood. So all of it is nicely blended together, and for a dark, smoky, incensey, woody experience. Definitely the green comes into mind too. It has lots of green touches. So that's Hwyl. Let me know if you guys are fans of this, because this one seems to get a lot of I mean, what I'm about to say is like people comment and mention this particular fragrance that they're fans of, so I can see that it's pretty popular. Maybe it's the most popular from the collection. That's why I wasn't able to buy all four of them together. I had to buy this one locally from our Aesop store here in San Francisco. Anyway, Hwyl, $135 for a 50 ml, launched in 2017. And the last fragrance here, the one I experienced the most because I've been wearing this for the longest because I really love it, is Rozu. So 2020 launch, 50 ml, 180. Now this one's really, really expensive. Not sure what happened with this one. Maybe it's the notes they're using. So Rozu, you can kind of tell from the color. It's a rosy, pinkish, purplish red. As far as the box goes, it seems like there's woods on it and green leaves, but obviously it's in black and white. So with this particular fragrance, for me, it hints at a little bit Le Labo's Rose 31. So it's a kind of a spicy rose, earthy, bitter green, Definitely lots of spices and lots of green stems. You can kind of smell the stems, the rose stems. When you chop them or cut them to put in a vase, there's a smell. You definitely pick it up here. But it does have, I think it does have a little bit of cumin, and that's kind of why it reminds me a little bit of Rose 31. They're not identical though, don't worry. But I think what's giving me that kind of green stemmy smell is the shiso. There's shiso in the notes, but this one again, it's floral, it's green, woody and spicy, and there's some light smoky touches in here as well. Top notes are rosebud, bitter orange, bergamot, shiso, and pink pepper. And I think that originally that when you first spray it, you get that kind of green stemmy quality that rose stems have. Rose, ylang ylang, jasmine, and gaiac wood in the heart, and I think the gaiac wood must be this right there. Finally, in the base notes, there are some smoky resinous touches in the musk, patchouli, myrrh, sandalwood, and vetiver. Vetiver comes again, and I think Rose 31 also has vetiver, but for me, Rose 31 is not so stemmy. I don't have that shiso a kind of greenish, slightly stemmy, green stemmy kind of a smell. Definitely not present in Rose 31. It is here, but I think there's a cuminy undertone in here. It doesn't mention cumin, but something maybe is causing that cuminy kind of smell, that some kind of an accord. But the vetiver definitely is prominent here. That's also in Rose 31, and of course the rose is in here. But this is really, really great. It's quite sexy because of the cuminy touches. I quite like it. And again, it's not like a full jammy rose. It's just a dry kind of it's just almost like the lifespan of a rose, because it's when you first smell a rose, it doesn't have a lot of smell. You smell the greenness when it hasn't opened up, and then as it's developing, it's getting sweeter and sweeter and more jammy and things like that. So you have the whole entire experience here with this fragrance, and that's what I like about it. It's kind of like a rose journey, but it's not a full-on in-your-face rose. But great scent. The most expensive, unfortunately, $180 for a 50 ml Eau de Parfum and 2020 launch. So this is Rozu from the house of Aesop. So those are the 4 fragrances from Aesop. I wanted to do this video as you guys have been asking me, and finally it's done. And let me know what your thoughts are on this house. Do you use their skincare? I mean, have you tried any of their skincare? Because I've tried some and they're pretty interesting. I don't really, I guess I should say is I'm not really like a skincare person. I don't do a lot. I should, to make me look younger maybe. But as far as the fragrances are concerned, these are great. But of course, their deodorant, the Vetiver deodorant, is awesome. You should check it out. And some of their products I have used here and there, and I think they're also great. So I should definitely look into using them. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the 4 fragrances from Aesop: Marrakech Intense, Tacit, or is it Tacit, Hwyl and Rozu. If you're fans of these fragrances or a house for their skincare or body care, please let me know. Put some comments down. Also, which one sounds great to you if you've never tried them? Because I'd like to find out, after hearing me talk about the fragrances, which one would you check out first? Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching today. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Otherwise, please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.